Welcome to the Trading Psychology and Mindset podcast. My name is Ash Plaisted. I am your host as always. I'm an active trader myself, as well as being a very curious student of human nature. Now, how our minds work. Understanding how our brain and mind work was the pivotal shift that changed my trading life. And understanding this is fundamental to every trader breaking through to consistent profitability, which is what we all want. This podcast is all about answering that question and providing real, tangible, and actionable steps that you can take to train the mind you bring to trading into the mind you need for trading success. Now, in this episode, which is titled Managing Our Attraction to Distraction, I'll be covering just how fragile our mind can be and why it's mission critical you learn how to train and manage it better. So let's head over and get started. So, the distracted mind, what's that all about? Now, how our minds work is fascinating. The brain can be our best friend or our worst enemy. Now, when I give talks in public, my own life mantra and my trading mantra is written on virtually every page of any presentation that I give. And it goes like this: control your mind, control your future. Control your mind, control your future. You have to want to do what you do, and trading is no different. You can live a life that is authentic to your soul, or you can live a life that people think you want to live. You can be authentic and own your life and take responsibility for everything you do. And if you don't take ownership of your life, you are not the boss. You have to take full responsibility for everything that you do. And that is especially so with trading. And why would you live your life any other way? Why be subservient? You must be the master of your own kingdom. But brace yourself. You will be forced to make many difficult decisions, and you cannot count on your mind to back you up if your determination wanders a little. You just can't walk through your life with your eyes half open. You have to know where you're going. You have to take possession of your life. Now, it would be nice if you could rely on your friends and family, but when it comes to your life's journey and your trading journey, you are on your own. It is your responsibility. Now, part of that journey, including your trading journey, is to discover your weaknesses. You have to know where your mind lets you down. Now, for the vast majority of people in the world, this will include their mind's tendency to wander. Our human attraction to distraction is a powerful curse. You see, all of us know what to do, right? All of us have the knowledge to do what needs to be done. But the path from knowledge to action, where we implement our knowledge, is elusive for many people in many areas of their lives. Now, your mind will drift. Now, this is unfortunate, but perfectly natural. And the solution is as trivial as it is powerful. You have to constantly reaffirm your purpose. Now, whether you meditate, or you talk to yourself while you're out walking the dog, there needs to be some period in your day, every day, where you remember your purpose. There must be a time to remind yourself of where you want to go, what you want to do. Now, one thing I can't always rely on is my ability to act in my own best self-interest. So my mind needs constant guidance and direction. Now, I don't know why that is, but it is, and I suspect the majority of the population of the planet is put together very similarly to I am. They just haven't realized it yet, so they drift through life rather than taking charge. Now, this doesn't mean they can't be successful, but wouldn't it be nice to be both financially and spiritually fulfilled? Now, your job, whether that be trading, cleaning the toilets, or performing brain surgery, is the thing that you do the most outside of sleeping. Now, me, I'm a professional trader, and I cannot afford to go into the trading ring without being 100% mentally prepared. My profession and your profession is a mind game like nothing else. If I want to win, I have to focus on my mental fitness at all times. Now, that is key to keeping my focus on what is important right now in this moment, which is essential in trading. Now, I'd like to quote Mark Douglas here, who, in my opinion, is the GOAT of trading psychology, the greatest of all time, and was right. Much to my chagrin back in the day, he said, in trading and in life, we get what we deserve. because I was only good at one part of the game. And in my case, I was good at the technical part. My trading didn't progress and my account kept draining. Now, I'll use a metaphor here, and I don't particularly like this metaphor, but I think it's very relevant, that being good at just the technical part of trading and not the psychological part of trading is like being good at the theory of being on the battlefront in a war zone, in trench warfare. Now, what good does that do you when you go into actual combat and you don't know how to handle yourself? This is why in the military, they spend a huge amount of time training soldiers to get used to what it is like on the battlefield, so that when reality hits, they automatically respond in the way that's in their best self-interest to survive. Now, I actively take control of my inner world. I have to give myself enough confidence to reassure myself that I have enough to go out and kick ass, right, in the markets every day. Now, to reach this stage takes repetition. Just like I said with the military, so it is with trading. It takes repetition over and over and over until our reflexive mind is trained into how to react under extreme duress, which is what trading is. Trading with money on the line to risk to an uncertain outcome is, to our brain, aligned with the threat of death. So it is extreme duress. Now, personally, I've been as lost as they come, right? And I tell you this not to inspire you to get lost yourself or to evoke sympathy, nor to tell a tale of rags to riches, but to make sure you understand that exposing your weaknesses will be a good thing. Your mind is a tool, right? That's how you must see it. If you let it delude you into thinking all is well, you will not get the success you want in trading or in life. And losing and failing, look, it might be a knock to the ego, right? But it is rocket full fuel for growth. Now, if it sounds like I'm trying to write a self-help manual for procrastination, a best-selling inspirational book, right? But what I am doing is describing what honesty means in trading. When you are honest with yourself, in the company of just yourself, or on a podium in front of 40 alcoholics, or whatever the setting may be, you just took a step that 99% of the population don't ever even contemplate taking. You've already started the journey to winning. So the journey in trading starts with technical knowledge acquisition and continues indefinitely with the constant evolution of both the technical and mental training, technical fitness and mental fitness. So technical training is part of, the trading day-to-day job, but the mental part needs constant, dedicated focus. Otherwise, it just gets lost in the noise of the outside world. Now, me personally, I need dedicated time to give that brain of mine a workout. And so do you, fellow traders, right? I really hope you get this message. Your mental fitness is something you must work on constantly. Otherwise, it will atrophy just like any other muscle. So I'd like to show you perhaps some of the mental warm-up processes that I go through before the trading day starts. And it gives me the visual evidence that I need to act in a manner that is aligned with what I'm trying to achieve. Now, this example happened a while ago, but it could happen any day of the week, right? Now, if I don't mentally prepare myself, it's really akin to going on a drive in the car with no working brakes, right? That is what it is like if you don't prepare mentally for trading. So it's part of my preparation, and it's been the most useful tool to build mental stamina and discipline. And it reminds me of everything that is weak in me, right? I'm not reminding myself that's everything that's good in me. I'm reminding myself that everything that's weak in me. It reminds me of how my mind, if left unchecked and untrained, will go on an absolute rampage to seek distraction, excitement, gratification. And one of the best ways to increase profit is using goal setting and visualization to align the conscious and subconscious minds to get them working in partnership with making profits. Now, in my case, I prefer to use fear to achieve goals. I'll be very interested in what you think, listeners. I imagine trading a size which, even in my mind, makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I imagine the feelings and consequences of things going wrong. So I'll sit quietly in my bed or in my office. The world outside is quiet. And if it isn't, I'll stick a pair of earplugs in, and I imagine that I'm trading and the market is moving against me. and I see myself cutting the loss. I imagine I bought, ABC market, and I see it going my way, right? And I feel my brain sending me signals to close the position to crystallize the profit, which is what the brain will do. But I see myself and I imagine myself doing nothing as I continue to watch the profit increase and decrease. It's going up, down, right? That emotional turmoil. I imagine and see and feel that. And I see a big profit turn into a small profit. And I smile and accept it, and I move on and telling myself that it's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm placing my brain under as much stress as I can with imagined scenarios. Now, for example, if I'm long in the market and the market is going my way, and let's say a sudden news story breaks the market, I then observe my fear shooting through the roof as my account, my profit and loss drains and turns into a bloodbath, right? And I see myself closing the positions and going in the opposite direction, right? That is a very, very difficult skill to master. I'll repeat that. I imagine I've got a trade, I'm long, the market's going in my way, something happens out there that turns the market the opposite direction, and I observe and feel my fear shooting through the roof and my profit draining away. But instead of adding to my position and hoping it turns around, I see myself closing that position, recognizing the market has changed direction, and I then go in the opposite direction. I don't see myself getting unhinged just because the main trend is now moving against me, right? I cannot guarantee that this approach will work for everyone, and perhaps you think it's kind of brilliant, or at least it could be useful after a few personal tweaks for you. I really hope so. It works for me because I learn visually through my imagination. I get the message much more clearly and simply when I see it visually, and I will plot this on a chart, right? I will actually plot where all of these things happen and how I was feeling. So I start to train my brain in the right reflexive behavior. If you tell me not to trade against the trend, it won't mean much more to me than when a dog barks, right? But repeatedly show me on a chart with my trades plotted on it, with me trading against the trend and getting stuck in a bloodbath, and I'll get the message. This is my therapy, right? This is like seeing a psychologist every morning. It really gets me fired up. So my therapist expands my mind and expands my horizon and starts to train me over and over again into the right behavior. And the goal here is to remind myself of what behavior I want to enact under pressure. It is about making changes and keeping the changes. As an example, I have trained myself and I train my kids. Every time you get into a car, the very first thing you do is put your seatbelt on. You are not allowed to turn the engine on until that seatbelt's on, until everybody else in the car has got their seatbelt on. That's a behavior, a simple one, that 99.9% of the time won't be needed. But that 0.1% of the time, if something happens, you want to know that you can count on your behaviors to keep you safe, or at the very least, increase the odds of you making it. Now, what makes me think this might work for you? Well, behavior, right? Behavior can be defined as our consistent patterned actions. How we think, how we feel, and how we act has a pattern to it. And that patterning is what makes us who we are. It's the sum total of our patterns. That's our personality, right? Our personality is the sum total of our patterns. And sometimes these patterns interfere with our goals and dreams in life, right? They prevent us from being who we want to be or accomplishing what we want to accomplish. We are sometimes our own worst enemy, right? And we seemingly can't stop ourselves when we're in the moment, right? Have a think about that. For example, a person may know very well that they have anger management issues, and yet they are unable to prevent themselves from lashing out under pressure. Other people might have weight issues and yet can't exercise the needed restraint in the moment of eating, right? So in the trading world, a trader might be fighting the trend all day, right? And his account is suffering, but he can't stop himself. Why is that? He is simply incapable of turning his position around and trading in the direction of the trend. It's only afterwards, when the emotional hijacking has subsided, he is able to truly analyze the situation rationally, and he is essentially disgusted with himself, right? So the purpose of my warm-up is not to take everything away that, that is hard in our lives in one swift move, right? The purpose is not to guarantee we won't mess up. The purpose is to focus on what I want to achieve or become. while being mindful of the things that will most certainly sabotage my goals. And the wonderful part is that I know I'm virtually certain and guaranteed of success if I avoid the failures, right? I don't have to worry about knowing what to do right. I already know that. It's avoiding the failures that will guarantee my success. Now, I don't have to be certain that my trade is going to work out. I just have to be aware that my mind wants to do things that are not in my own best interest. So I don't add to my losing trades, right? That in itself means I just need to be mindful of this one variable I can control. So my behavioral action plan, right, in the morning is about changing the patterns that do not serve me. And I'd really encourage you to come up with your own version of this, right? And if you're not sure, find a good coach or mentor to work with that can help you design this. In my case, it started by observing another very successful trader who was actually my mentor at the time and asking myself, what was holding me back from becoming him? My technical abilities were nearly as good as his. I certainly don't think he was much better off financially than I was. But here's the thing, he was seemingly fearless. And this was a mystery wrapped in a riddle to me. How could I become fearless in trading? Did I even want to become fearless? So I came to the conclusion that the trader I wanted to become was patient but aggressive when the time was right. Right, just like that jaguar, that apex ambush predator. Patience, 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 then aggressive when the time was right. Let's think of a great, tennis champion, for example, Borg, Sampras, Federer, playing in a Wimbledon final. They were patient. How often did you see those great players, battling against an up-and-coming player who was playing as well and sometimes better than them? They didn't try to overwhelm them. They just stayed in the game, stayed in the game, stayed in the game. They were patient, 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 until just the right moment, on the most important points, they played with focused, fearless aggression. So for me, after that, it was a question of reminding myself of that goal every day and several times a day if necessary. That's how habits are built, through repetition. And as I grew wiser to the ways of life and the ways of trading, I realized that there is a lot of truth to John Lennon's words. Life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. We become so engaged in our day-to-day life with responsibilities at work and at home that quite often the big picture of our lives stays in the background. Day after day, year after year, we busy ourselves with work and routines, only to realize later in life that opportunities have passed us by. So the first question to address in a change process is, what do you want to change? Or perhaps you could state it otherwise. How would you like your life to be different? And my answer, and hopefully you create something similar, is I want to dedicate time to trading well, to combating my natural human inclinations that stand between me and successful trading. I want to prepare my mind every morning through a series of meditations, habits, and visual exercises. Now, to achieve this, in your case, you'll need to train your mind to act calmly through visualizing yourself in difficult situations, right? You can focus on your breath and calmly put yourself through stressful situations to ensure you train your mind to react reflexively how you want to react if the circumstances are real. Now, there's that word reflexively again. Now, this is mindset reflexology. This is where I work with traders, is to train their mind on how to act and react as if the situation is real. So when the situation is real, they can start to build confidence that that's how they will react under the real, heat of trading in the moment with real money. And making these changes entails far more than simply engaging in positive thinking or getting positive images in your head, right? I didn't want positive images. I wanted a portrait of the dire hell I would live in if I didn't make the change. And it may seem like a negative state of being to you, right? But trust me, it isn't. It is immensely positive. Yes, it might be a rather tense way of getting what you want, but it is an immensely positive and powerful way to train your mind. So I know I've turned conventional wisdom on its head here, right? And I do this because I know what compels me more. Rewards don't compel me. Punishment and disgust compel me to action. Moving away from what disgusts me and what I fear is what compels me, right? So we move away from what disgusts us much more powerfully then we move towards what rewards us. Remember that with your trading psychology training. Now let's consider the market itself. It's not like us so much in its behavior, right? And no surprise there because, we are the market, right? It climbs a wall of worry and then it slides down the slope of hope. Now, that might be a well-known Wall Street saying, but it says a whole lot more about humans than it says about the markets. So in my case, and hopefully you take that out of this podcast, all I've done is use fear and disgust as my protagonist. So instead of avoiding them, burying them, hoping they go away, I've embraced them as my training trigger, my motivator to get better. Okay? I hope you take that away. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode, right? This human tendency, this powerful tendency to be attracted to distraction, right? This is what we've got to work our way away from. Now, thank you, right? If you're a beginner trader, even if you're just thinking about trading, you're an experienced trader, a prop trader. All traders can benefit from learning these behavioral habits. Thanks for joining me on this episode. And I really, truly hope that you found in equal measure some insight, some learning, and some actionable advice that you can take away into your own life and your own trading. I'll see you on the next episode of the Trading Psychology and Mindset podcast.